Remember this map? No? Okay, what about these? Definitely maps I've talked about on this channel before. Looking through the rest of his library, it seems to stray a bit from what we usually see in the rank section. And who is this bad dragon guy? Apparently it's the same dude. He just changed his username at some point this year, and I honestly wouldn't have noticed it if it wasn't for this one map we're going to be looking at. I've played all 4 of these, well, I've played everything, and I guess these 3 didn't really stick out in any concerning way, especially playing them within the session of other marathon maps. Surprisingly, these were all ranked on the same day, with 6 entirely different nominators. I have no idea how someone's able to have that many connections and be coordinated like that. Anyway, the Smile of You is quite the tone shift from most of Bad Dragon's other maps. It's featured in Beatmania 2DX Gold, but there's also this Poppin' Music 17 the movie in the tags. One other recent map that's from this movie as well, but I don't think this is an actual movie. Seems like it's just a subtitle for the game, which came out in 2009, so seeing these 2 ranked maps within the span of a month is a coincidence. And look, here's the 2 songs. Outside of this anime, these songs seem to be electronic with high intensity. The Smile of You is more smoother, slower, and vocal oriented. That's another way of saying prone to long note usage. Of course the song's composure is going to affect the map itself, but there's also another aspect of map customization to consider, and that's the key count. Bad Dragon seems to be predominantly a 4-key mapper, though there was this dual set of 4 and 6 on Serendipity, as well as the 6-key set on Hers and Hers. This one felt like a Step Mania chart. For this map, he decided to go with 4-key, plus 1. I'm sure this is the first instance of this sort of style getting ranked, as there's probably not any other mappers going out of their way to make something like this. Well, except for one.
Hi, I'm SpongeBob.
I did have these 2 sets. Identity Part 3 was overwritten last year, so the 4-key plus 1 difficulty has been deleted, but it wasn't finished, and it wasn't that good anyway. But there's this Kirby Air Ride map that was uploaded in 2017, and remains untouched today. Fun fact, the 4-key difficulties, along with a bunch of other single diff map sets, were featured in this Eterna pack. Back then, I was still new to 7-key and didn't have much dexterity when it came to thumb usage, so for 5-key, playing with ring finger seemed like a decent alternative. It was still a challenge, but it felt somewhat viable, as I also had a bit more practice in 6-key at the time. And this is how the idea came to me. I could just create a regular 4-key map and tack on that extra 1 key every few measures within the map. This would give the map a slight star rating increase, and that's all I really cared about back then when it came to mapping. All of this is heavily reflected in the map itself, as is literally an exact copy of the 4-key another difficulty, with a few scratches thrown in, but honestly, it kinda works. I'm only mapping the scratch lane to these symbol sounds, and it really gives a consistent feel throughout the map that leads to the player knowing what to expect and when to expect it. Puts more emphasis on the 4-key patterns themselves. This does lead to the map being not as scratch heavy, as I'm not exactly expressing any creative liberties here, but again, it really does play smoothly, especially as I've gotten better at higher key counts over the years. So now that we have a general understanding of what these kind of maps can look like, what makes the Smile of You so interesting?
It's the biggest piece of
It faces a similar structure to my map of only utilizing the scratch lane every 8 measures, and well, that's mostly due to the song. It isn't until the end of the map until we really start to see some varied rhythms in this lane. So that leaves us with the 4 other lanes that really are the main focus of the map, and as I said before, long notes. A lot of them. And whenever I see one of these heavy long note usage maps, I always try to make sense of the layering and to really understand what the intention of each note was. Like when I see stuff like this, it seriously gives off the illusion of intricate layering and as if the mapper paid attention to every single decibel change in the vocals, but most of the time, it just feels random. Long notes that are seemingly mapped to no audio. Or ones that could be extended to better match the length of the vocals. But this is starting to become nitpicking, and it really comes down to this term, as well as preference on map styles. None of this has any real bearing on rankability, as it's not breaking any criteria in a direct way, so there's no reason to complain after the fact, but I do want to look at the hyper difficulty. Obviously this one is easier in comparison to the previous one, but I do appreciate when map designs are fairly straightforward on what exactly the layering structure will be. You can really understand the intention of each long note as you play the map, and it leads to a more immersive experience as it closely follows the music. I'm clearly biased when it comes to this guy, but I think we can all agree that there should be a level of importance put on representing the music as best as we can. When it comes to future maps of the N+1 style, this kinda opens the door to what could get ranked. We might see some 3k plus 1, or maybe even some 9k plus 1, like that one video I did. And the fact that Bad Dragon took the leap on creating something unique and different is quite amazing. If you know any other mappers or interesting maps I should check out, leave a comment below, though I already have an idea of what I plan to look at next.